Grace and peace, everyone. This is Martin Wilson, Coach Martin Wilson. This is my friend, Mr. Marvin Glenn, and we are here. We're just going to have a fabulous time just for a few moments to have Mr. Glenn to share with us his testimony of what God has been doing in his life. Man, tell us about who is Marvin Glenn, just so these guys will know and that we're not just doing an interview, but that you really do have a story.
Yeah, once again, my name is Marvin Glenn. I thank you, Bishop. I'm blessed to be here today. My testimony started a long time ago. Even when I was young, the enemy was trying to take me out because God has a purpose for my life. And here recently this year, I went in. I have a meningioma, which is a brain tumor. They said it's generic. And so I went in to have it removed. And it was a life-changing moment for me. I went in January 29th to have the meningioma removed. And the doctor got in and realized how bad it really was. All the nerves and blood vessels crisscrossing. It had its own blood supply and everything. So once the doctor got in and saw that it was a lot worse than what he thought it was, he began to work as best he could on it to correct the problem.
How long was your surgery?
It was supposed to have been a 3-hour surgery.
Wow.
It turned into about a 12-hour surgery.
We were there quite a while.
And the surgery was so that they wanted to keep me in a coma, a medically induced coma, so that everything could have time to heal. And after that, complications began. I began having problems with my bleeding, with my breathing. They thought that I had a blood clot through my lungs. And they were talking to my wife, and they even brought the chaplain in.
Wow.
Because at that point, normally they didn't see people that made it past that. Right. But they asked my wife, what did she want to do at this point? Did she want to continue to work on me, or begin to make preparations that I could just transition?
So they were literally asking her, did they want her to, they wanted her to let them know if they could just give up?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
But see, like I told you.
So you're in a coma during this time?
Yes, I'm in a coma. And like I told you, the enemy been after me. But God, every time the enemy thinks he's got his hand on me, God just snatches me out.
Wow.
And this was no time different. So the doctor suggested that they would give me heparin, which is a blood thinner. And because he had operated on my brain, they was afraid that it could cause my brain to bleed out. So my wife, my mother-in-law, they got together and prayed about it and decided that they wanted me to live.
My God.
Which is what my God would want.
That's awesome.
Me to live. And so they gave me the shots, and I began to get better. And not long after that, I come out of that, and then I began to have breathing problems.
So now when they were doing the surgery, they had messed something up that actually stopped your vocal cords from working?
Yes, the 9 and the 11 nerve.
So they thought they had told us that he was not going to be able to talk. I remember sitting in the bed, boo-hooing, crying like a baby. I'm like, I'm not going to hear this man's voice again.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Go ahead, go right ahead, Marvin.
And so with that, the breathing problem started. And so I had to have, if you look, you can see where I had a trach. And they put a trach in. And not long after they put a trach in, they put a feeding tube in
Mm-hmm.
so that I could be fed. And they could take the tube out my nose. And so
So now what are you actually being fed with the feeding tube?
with the feeding tube, they were feeding me liquid, like something like Ensure, but glucose.
So it just goes straight into you.
Straight into my stomach.
Mm.
They pour it into the tube, and it went straight to my stomach. So they did that, and they were giving me swallowing tests to see how I swallowed, and my swallowing wasn't that good, so they had to feed me through the tube, and
So your being on the tube, the length was measured by if you can swallow, then we can remove the tube.
yes,
Okay.
and it was okay. I didn't mind because they were still giving me the nourishment, and it was helping with my weight loss,
Mm-hmm.
which is what we wanted.
Yeah. Yeah.
So time progressed, and I got better. Because, see, I serve a good God.
Oh my.
I serve a
yes,
just
sir.
God.
Yes, sir.
And he began moving and began healing my body. Now, mind you, this was a process. This didn't happen overnight.
Right.
I laid in bed a minute a day, and all I could do was do this right here
Yeah.
to let folk know that everything was going to be all right.
Wow.
And that God was doing for me what I knew he was able to do. See, it ain't until the healing process comes that you begin to understand that he's a healer.
Wow. Wow.
And I began to understand that God was a healer, that he was a deliverer, that he was going to bring me out of that bed. It was still yet a process to see, but it had begun.
Yeah. How long were you in the hospital?
I was in the hospital about 30-some days.
Mm-hmm. And the turnaround was really fast from the time that we thought we may lose you to the time that the healing started.
Yes, because the doctor told them to get me up on my feet. And so once they got me out of ICU, they took me to progressive care. And what progressive care was to do was to get me on my feet where I could walk again.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly what they did. They put me in there. The therapist came in and began to work with me. And God, every set of nurses, I say nurses, but they were angels.
Yeah.
Because every set that came in and that I worked with worked to get me to another stage and level in my recovery. And he gave me this one that understood because I was taller. And from a chair, I couldn't really get up. So he had them order me a taller chair.
Yeah.
And they did. And it came the next day. And they started setting me up in that chair. Within 2 days, I was up on my feet and taking steps.
Wow.
That's how good God is. And the progression took place. So I just thank God for that and for them. And for long, they had me out of progressive into rehab.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And even though I was up and walking, I still needed to get my muscles back and everything. And so that's what they began to do in rehab. And, excuse me, and they got me back on my feet, got me exercising my muscles, my mind. They got things working back again. And I just thank God. I just want to tell you, I thank God for the little things in life. Because sometimes, because we can breathe, we take it for granted. Because we can walk, we take it for granted. Because we can talk, it's not that you can't do those things that you realize how good God is.
Because there were a couple of times that your breathing and heart rate were critical, at a critical place.
Yes. And still, even now, sometimes my heart rate, they hook me up and they go, the machine don't act right. And they be like, your heart rate is low. I said, that's just how it is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it does that on its own. I have no control over it. But what I'm glad about, and I can say here today, is that my wife and I work out on a daily basis.
Yes,
we go walking.
Yeah. Now, how much have you lost already?
I went from 555. I'm down. Last I weighed was 443.
Amen.
So I'm happy about that because the weight is coming off, and I feel better in my body.
That's good.
I changed my eating habits, and it's all making a difference in my life today. I'm no longer the same. Since I went through that, I'm not the same anymore. I know I'm not the same. I'm a different man. I'm a better man because of God and what I went through.
So now, and we talked about this in Life Group, how has it changed your view on life?
Oh man, I'm today. I'm humble. I'm more humble today. Cause see, when I could do things on my own, and then I did need people help, but I wasn't really willing to accept the help because I could do it. But through this process, it humbled me, and it allows me to ask for help. Excuse me. I thank God for Bishop, because if I need to go somewhere, I need to go to a doctor, Bishop will take me. He'll drop whatever he got to do to make sure I get where I need to be and get the help I need. And I thank God for him being in my life, for him teaching me love, because he shows it to me. He don't just talk love, he shows it every day. And how I see him bless people and pray for people. But what he don't do is he ain't gonna take no mess. You can't come to him with that mess about life and what life is dealing you, because he'll let you know it's you.
Yeah.
It's just, until you change what you do, nothing is gonna change in that. So what are you willing to do to change the direction that you're headed in?
So how has the teaching that we've done over the years dealing with taking 100% responsibility of your life, looking at your life, finding out what it is that you need to change, how has those things helped you in this season where you really had a lot of things that were on the table in front of you?
Well, most of all, it helped me to become humbler, and it helped me to take responsibility for my actions, no matter what it is. Because for every action is a reaction. And I've done some things in my life that I've had to take responsibility for. Excuse me, y'all.
Yeah, his throat hasn't totally recovered, so he has to keep some water nearby. But I'm sure that you guys are enjoying. This is a great testimony. This is for anyone that's going through something. Because a lot of times we feel like we're going through things, and we really it's just a mental game. It's just an illusion until you've lost your health. Till you're at a place where you can't talk. I've seen him have the right things down. There's even been times that he's called me and I couldn't understand what he was saying. He had to put his wife on the phone. Until you really went through some things, we really can't just sit around and complain about the little things in life.
That's right. And through that process, you learn what's important and what's not. But, like I was saying, you have to take responsibility. See, I used to eat what I wanted to eat, when I wanted to eat it. And wasn't nobody going to tell me I couldn't. But as a result of that, I was obese. I still got a way to go, but I ain't where I was.
And you're walking, and
I'm walking
every day.
I'm doing something about it.
I got to do something to get rid of this universe.
You got what you got to do, and this is the hit to it, y'all. You ain't got to do this for a lifetime, because if you think I got to do this for the rest of my life, you can't do it. You hurting yourself. What you think is, and what works for me is that I only got to do this one day at a time. Only one day
One
at a time.
Wow. That's powerful.
That's all I got to do it for. And then the next day it'll take care of itself.
Wow.
And that's how I do it. That's how I'm able to do what I do.
What words of encouragement would you give to that person that's facing a sickness, facing weight loss, facing discouragement? What words of encouragement would you give to that person?
First thing I'll tell you is that you can do it. I promise you can do it. If a man like me that come from the streets, I was hooked on cocaine, on crack cocaine, marijuana, alcohol, women, the streets, whatever it had to offer. If God can deliver me from that, he can do the same for you. There's nothing impossible for God. But you got to realize that you need help and that you got a problem and you need him to come in and help you. You can do it.
And
I
please,
promise you.
And you guys, please understand, just the short time that we've been connected with me and Brother Marvin, I've seen him go from times when we were having discussions and when he does this, he is gone. He is shut down.
Yeah, I shut it down.
To a place to where he is now wide open. I don't even get to counsel with him and his wife anymore because I'm usually on the road. But he's open, and my wife is doing counseling session with him. And it's important. Listen, when you have a problem, that's not the time to go to counseling. It's good to go to counseling before the problems and before the issues get to the place that you can't handle them.
And men, I got to say this.
Yeah.
You got to learn to listen to her. Listen to her because she's trying to tell you something. And if you listen to it and take heed to it, it'll make things so much better. And the same with the women. They'll listen to us, but we got to listen to them.
Yeah, because they're looking at our actions.
Yes.
And if our actions aren't lining up with what we're telling them, it's hard for them to receive.
That's
right.
right.
And women talk to us out of love.
Yes.
If they take the time to speak into your life and say something, it's only because they see something that we don't see and because they love us.
And if they keep saying it over and over and over, it's because they care.
Yeah.
Because they love you. Not to be nagging, not to get on your nerves, but they need you to hear them because it is probably hindering the process that y'all are in and going higher and deeper in God.
So now, with this situation that you've gone through, nothing special about me or my wife or anything like that, but if you guys hadn't have already started working on your marriage, how do you think that it would have affected your relationship during the sickness? If you hadn't have already, because see, we don't know when situations are going to hit. So we've got to have things in order even before. How do you think that it would have affected your marriage if you hadn't started working on your marriage before the sickness?
It would have been bad. It could have turned out a whole lot different than it did. My wife loves me, and I know that without a shadow of a doubt. She ain't got to tell me that every day. Mm-hmm. I know she loves me because she shows me that she loves me. My wife can go to work all day. She'll come home and cook a meal, feed her husband. If that ain't love, my wife, right now I'm disabled, I'm not able to work. My wife gets up out of the bed. Most mornings, I'm still in the bed. And she gets up and she goes to work. That's love. Mm-hmm. I know what it is.
That's the real better.
Yes,
and for
better for work. And see, my wife, she could have, at that point, she could have said, you know what? I didn't sign up for this. So I'm going to go ahead on and check out. But some situations in my life, some choices I made before this, that showed me that my wife was in my corner.
That's good.
So when that time came, she was right there. And I want y'all to know this. The whole time that I was in the hospital, my wife would not leave my side.
Not at all. Not at all.
They had to make her.
We had to make
go
her go.
eat.
We had to make her go downstairs to eat. Literally.
Because she wanted to know if the doctors came in, because I could not speak. She was my mouthpiece. Mm-hmm. And today, she still is my mouthpiece. She goes to the doctor with me. And when he started asking questions, she'll start talking for me. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And at first I was like, man, I can talk for myself. But I humble myself and I allow her to talk. And the things that she's concerned about,
she'll ask those hard questions.
She'll ask those questions.
Yeah.
And I thank God for her.
Awesome. Kind of a change of pace here before we have to end this. At the time of this taping, we are in Charlotte, North Carolina, and we're in the midst of a crisis. There was a young man that was waiting on his daughter to come home on the bus. The police were in the community looking for someone else. Police say that he got out of the car with a gun in his hand. Reports say that he got out of the car with a book in his hand. To me, which is really irrelative, since they took a armed terrorist down without killing him. I need that to sink in. A week ago, they took down an armed terrorist in New York, New Jersey area. He was armed. He had a gun. And they shot him in the arm and took him alive. But this young man is dead. And the city of Charlotte is in arrest right now. Mm-hmm. The protest last night was peaceful. First night, crazy. People on the highway stopping cars, busting out windows in the Walmart, places like that. What is your take on what's happening with the people? I understand. I can understand people are angry. Mm-hmm. I can understand people are upset, but I keep hearing that the reason that the people are doing this is because it's pent up frustration, it's pent up anger. Does that justify violence?
No, it doesn't. Not at all. This is what I believe. We as a people, when we don't understand something, we do the next best thing we can. And anger is a secondary emotion. There's something underneath it, which is normally hurt. So a lot of people are hurt right now because of what's going on. I don't condone it. It's not right. But going out here and vandalizing places, businesses, that's not right. That's not going to get us any answers. That's not going to solve the problem. It won't bring these young men back, young ladies back. It won't do it. What we need is to change in Congress. See, this thing is bigger than us.
It's bigger. Yeah, it's bigger than the police department.
Yes, it's a lot bigger than us. And we got to get an understanding of what's really going on. And then we know how to act accordingly. But, my heart goes out to the families. My heart goes out to the police department, because not all police are bad.
No.
Not all police are bad. I've had some good ones in my corner, so I know about that.
Yeah.
But I just hope my people will take heed to what's going on and say, wait a minute, hold up. This ain't the way to do it.
Right.
There's a way to do it so that we can be heard and we can get the answers that we're looking for. And then that's through peace and through talking the right channels and through making a presence.
Yeah.
Dr. Martin Luther King was not about violence. He was about a presence. And that's what he did. He showed his presence. And that's what we got to do. We got to stand for what we believe in and stand and voice what we need and what we want to see happen.
And we've got to, and for those of you that are watching, listen, we've got to stand together now like never before. I wanted to share Brother Marvin's testimony here on Refocus TV because it's a testimony of victory. Yeah. It's a testimony of triumph. It's a testimony of going through that rough place, that hard place, and able to come out victorious. Victorious. And so those of you that are praying for us here in Charlotte, North Carolina, we thank you. Yes. Continue to pray. Continue to pray that yes. Our children are safe. Continue to pray that the businesses are safe, and that the police would make the right decisions. Yes. Those of you, the week that in the time that this is being filmed, just a week ago, there was another lady officer that shot a unarmed man, and they charged her with first-degree manslaughter, which yes. is not exactly what we believe should be, but at least they're doing something. They're wanting to move forward. But it's going to take all of us working together, yes. wanting peace. You got to want peace. And in wanting peace, for me, that means that I'm not going downtown and being even in a situation to where it could turn
That's right.
Violent.
That's right.
Putting myself in that position. And when I go, if I go, I'm putting my whole family in that position. That's right. Because if something happens, I'm robbing my children of a father. I'm robbing my That's wife right. of a husband. Let us be more cognitive and think about what we do. I think we were talking about that in the car. Mm-hmm. Thinking about what we do, or before we say something, yes. thinking about it. In these last closing minutes, Brother Marvin, just encourage that young man, because now, and as you shared, you the devil's always been after you. That you've had some hard time. You've been incarcerated before. Yes. Just speak to that young man that may just happen to stumble across this in the last 3 minutes here. Just share with him what he can do to really turn his life around and change his life.
Well, like I said, I was out there in those streets. The streets have no love for you. There's nothing out there but destruction. I promise you. The choices you make out in the street can follow you the rest of your life. Yeah. I promise you, I've been to prison. I know what that's about, what that's like. I've been in and out of jail. But this I can promise you. When I decided I didn't want to live like that no more, I didn't have to go to church, and I didn't have to have the preacher lay hands on me, pour oil all over me. But I just simply told God that I was tired of living like that. Mm-hmm. And I didn't want to live like that no more. And whatever it would take, I was willing to do. At that moment, I told God that. He opened my eyes, and my life changed. Now, I can't say I still made all good decisions, because that ain't how life goes. But my life is so much better now than it ever was out there in the streets. I ain't got the biggest house. I ain't driving the best car. I ain't got $1 million worth of jewelry. But I promise you, today I have peace.
Wow.
Today I'm happy.
That's important.
I wake up with money in my pocket. Man, on drugs, I never had money in my pocket the next morning. Because I had to spend it all. Yeah. You know, in that reckless lifestyle. But you no longer have to live like that anymore. You ain't got to go down the road I went, because I've already done it for you. Pick yourself up, man. Brush yourself off, young men, young ladies, and seek God, because that's your answer. You might not understand it, but I promise you, He will never let you down. He will always be there for you, just like He's there for you now. Even in the midnight hour, call on Him. He'll be right there. And I thank you for this time. I thank God for being in my life and being the head of my life. I'm still at work. Still got a ways to go. But I'm grateful for where I am today in Him and where I used to be in me. There's a big difference.
Amen.
Listen,
Amen.
I love you. Keep your head up. see God's face and watch him bless you. If he did it for me, he'll do it for you.
Listen, this is Coach Martin Wilson. Join me every Wednesday night at 8:30 p.m. right here on Facebook Live. We will be doing teaching. This week we're going to be talking about reprogramming for success. Every one of us, we have programming that keeps us stuck in the place that we are. But God's word, great teaching, and great discipline will cause us to be able to break out of that cycle. So until next time, this has been Coach Martin Wilson and
Marvin Glenn. And if you're the smartest person in your group, switch.
Change your group. Bless you.